Hello and welcome to a brand new show here on CUTV called Hanging Out on CUTV, and I am your brand new host, Peyton Trollinger. Last time we had Gary hosting, but now your boy is hosting. So we have a jam-packed episode full of some amazing guests, and we're going to talk about some pretty interesting things. So let's get right into the action. Our first guest is an active member of the golf community and also is a part of the CUTV family. And we're going to be talking about a little bit of golf. So welcome to the show, Nolan Bistline. How are you, Nolan?
I'm good, Peyton. It's good to be back. Good to see some CUTV faces once again, and alumni, of course, but, golf back up and rolling.
That's good to hear. So to start off, so how did you get into golf? Like, how did you find a love for the sport of golf?
Yeah, so, a while ago, I just played once in a while. And then I played soccer the whole way through 10th grade in high school. Okay. And then I just wasn't getting as much playing time. And my friends were like, why don't you try out golf? So I'm like, okay, I'll try out golf. So I tried out golf and I liked it. And now I'm here at Cal U in the professional golf management program. So a little bit different than CTV with the media communication side. But yeah. I still bring in that sports side of things. So
yeah. So is golf more of like a hobby or is it a passion for you?
You could really call it either or. It could be your passion. Like my majors, that's kind of, my dream goal in the future, be a head pro or something within the golf industry. But it could be a hobby, anybody could like golf. You could, Gary could, Dillon could. Don't know if you want to see Dillon golf, but, it could be a hobby for anyone. So for me, it's a passion, I think, honestly.
Okay, respect. So you said you've been playing golf since sophomore year of high school?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay,
yeah.
That was going to be my next question because I wanted to know kind of how long you've been playing it. So you were talking before we started recording about your best game ever. So if you could share with the audience, what has been your best game ever?
Yeah, so yesterday was one of my best rounds, shot a 73, and yesterday for the first time ever had a hole-in-one, so brought the ball with me
there he
as well.
is.
So hole-in-one on a par 3, so I didn't know it went in. Luckily, I had spectators on the next hole to see it because I was playing by myself. But I thought it totally rolled off the green, so it was really cool to get one. And then I was just kind of like, wow, what just happened? So
yeah, I bet that was absolutely insane getting that hole-in-one because you've been playing it for a really long time. So, it was probably a lot for you. It was a good, big accomplishment.
Yeah, it definitely was. I thought I really hit the ball like off center to the left. I'm like, well, another bad shot here, Nolan. But luckily, I made it in the hole somehow.
Yeah, you got to keep that determination there. So, due to recent events, the coronavirus, has that affected your ability to practice and/or play?
So for golf, it didn't open until just the beginning of May here, so it's only been just about a month here coming up. But
okay.
There's certain different restrictions that they put into place now. So it's anything from one person per cart unless you live in the same household. You have to wear a mask going into the pro shop. Some of the courses, luckily the course that I'm at is using the practice range and the putting green, but some courses around this area are just, you can't even practice beforehand. So you just kind of have to go out there and play. So it's definitely a big step. And then, you have even noticed too that the tee times, they used to be about, 8 or so minutes, and now they're spaced out closer to 15 minutes per time. So it's about half the day of tee times now instead of a full day. But people are still getting out playing. I play in a league on Thursday nights. I have a league tonight, and it'll be 40 to 50 guys there. So it will be, it's quite the interesting thing. But everybody tries to stay distance away from each other.
So do you guys, because you mentioned the masks and you have to wear them in the shop, do you have to wear them on the course?
So once you get to the first hole, or once you get to like the first tee box, you can take it off. But then right after the 18th hole, you have to put them back on. So pretty much anytime you're around that clubhouse area and out in the parking lot, you have to keep them on. So just, due to safety concerns and everything, of course.
Yeah, that makes sense because it would have been really weird to play golf with a mask or any sport for that matter. Well, thank you, Nolan. Thank you for answering my questions.
When you adopt a shelter pet, you discover all the things that make them unique. And your mother and... I am totally a hot person. Right, guys? Thanks for being honest. They're a little bit of a lot of things, but they're all pure love. Adopt pure love at theshelterpetproject.org.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Hanging Out on CUTV. My name is Peyton Trollinger. I'm the new host of this show. So as we come back from commercial break, our next guest is an alumnus of CUTV and is currently working for WBOY 12 News in West Virginia and is currently verified on Twitter, which is, I think, it's just amazing. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome, Dillon Gaudet. How are you doing, Dillon?
Doing well. Thank you for having me on. I love CUTV so much, so happy I can be a part of the show.
And we're happy to have you on here too. So Dillon's going to talk to us a little bit about NASCAR. Now, me personally, I don't know a lot about NASCAR, so you're going to have to do a lot of talking. So with all this pandemic commotion going on, it's surprising that NASCAR is still going on. So, did you expect it to keep going on during all this?
Well, it was kind of crazy when everything was going on when it first started and everything was canceled and postponed, like the NCAA tournament and things like that. NASCAR was actually planning on still having their race that weekend, but then at the last minute, without fans, and then at the last minute they pulled the plug on that, and then they postponed the season for around 2-3 months almost. I believe it was about that long. But then they went online, which is pretty cool. So they ended up having the same races that they were supposed to have in person, but this time they did them online via virtual racing simulator, which I thought was really cool because it's really hard. NBA can play 2K or NFL can play Madden. This is like a actual driver simulation where they're sitting in a car seat, like it's an actual car that they're driving. And I thought it was really cool how they were able to get most of the drivers, and actually some old drivers like Jeff Gordon drove in a race, and then also Dale Jr. drove in all the races. Okay. So that was able to bring in some fans, and actually did pretty well in terms of people watching that up until last Sunday, not this past Sunday, but the Sunday before. Then they went back to on the track racing, and they were extremely cautious about how they were going to do this. I think that's one thing a lot of sports are kind of looking at NASCAR right now on how they can adjust to this without fans when they try to start coming back, because they screen everyone coming to and from the track. Drivers aren't allowed to interact with their teams. They have to stay kind of separate from them, and their only communications, via Zoom, via voice chatting, things like that. So when they're out the track, the drivers, they have no contact face-to-face with anybody on their teams. They just go directly to their cars, kind of trust their teams and setting up the cars ready for them to race. No practice, no qualifying, and then they hop in the seat and go. And I think that so far they've done 3 races, NASCAR has. They were supposed to have one last night, but it got postponed to tonight. And so far, no incidences in terms of anyone contracting the virus or anything like that. So I think they've done a pretty good job of keeping it safe with what's going on.
That's good to hear. I mean, wow. I know with NASCAR, I've watched a little bit of NASCAR, not too much, but just imagining, because your crew is very important to, actually winning the race. So just to not even be able to talk to them and keep that chemistry up, that has to affect them somehow. So
yeah, absolutely. And one of the cool things is they have to bring their own driver's suits, their helmets. Usually the team has those, but they have to now take them themselves. So you'll see funny videos of drivers, walking into the track. They have a luggage case and carrying their helmet, kind of old school like they had to back in the day.
Yeah, that's especially, and also as athletes, like you were saying, they usually get your team to carry all that stuff, but you actually having to carry it yourself, that does look a little funny. Yeah. So I can't remember when this was, but I saw a glimpse of a race, and there was no fans obviously at the track. So from watching it at home, does that affect the way you watch it, there being no fans at the track? Or
Yeah, definitely. That's been a big impact. One of the biggest things the drivers have kind of talked about, the drivers that have won a race, they step out of their car. Usually they step out, on the front stretch in front of all the fans, and there's a ton of people cheering and everything. And they've kind of said it's very, very awkward, stepping out after when it's expected to hear people cheering, and then you hear nothing. So I'm sure that's definitely crazier on their end. For fans, it's nice. It'll be nice to obviously have fans eventually, but I think a lot of NASCAR fans understand the situation that we're in right now, and the fact that really there's not any other spectator sports that are having fans right now anyway. So they've added some cool elements to the TV side of things. They're actually, when you're at the track, you can get like a headset and a scanner and listen to all the drivers. You can do that at home, but you usually have to pay money for it. But now NASCAR made that freely available, so you can listen to all the teams kind of like you're at the track. Their driver and spotter and crew chief communication. So I think that's a cool thing that they've added, free for the fans, since they can't go watch the race in person.
Yeah, that is really cool. Like, you're like at home, you feel like you're actually there. That's actually really cool. So a question that I really want to know, how do the playoffs work in NASCAR? Because when it comes to like basketball, hockey, football, usually everybody knows what's going on.
Well,
it's pretty.
Everyone always asks me this question. Gary, Gary and I still try to explain this to Gary, so it is kind of confusing and a little different. But you have their playoffs for NASCAR. 16 drivers make the playoffs, and how you make the playoffs is an automatic way for you to make it is if you win a race. So all the winners of the season, if they're in the top 36 in points, which is pretty easy to be in the top 36 considering there's 40 drivers, or top 30 out of the top 40. If you win a race and you're in the top 30 in the points, then you get a spot in the playoffs, and then those final spots are actually given to drivers that are high in the points, that didn't make it by winning a race. So then they split up there's 10 races in the playoffs. So they split them up into different rounds. So the first round is the first 3 races. That's called the round of 16.
Okay.
Then they will take the top 12 out of that. So 4 drivers get eliminated after the round of 16. Then they go into the round of 12. Same thing, 3 races. Then they cut it down to 8. So then there's 4 races left in the season, and then the round of 8 is the 3 races leading up to the last race. So it's very competitive, especially when it gets to 8, because and there's 3 races left. That's 3 spots available, and there's going to be 1 that's just points. So those 3 races are usually the 3 most competitive races of the year. So then you'll have the final 4. Points are thrown out the window for the last championship race. It's whoever finishes higher. So it doesn't matter. There's stages in NASCAR, like stage 1, stage 2, and then the final part of the race. None of that really matters in the championship. You still have those stages, but no one's earning points. It's whoever of those top 4 drivers finishes first, which is kind of cool. All the other cars are still racing. So you can have somebody that's not in the championship hunt still racing against the drivers that are in the championship, which is kind of cool and adds a different element to that. Other sports, obviously you don't have that, but you do in NASCAR, and I think that adds to it. There's been some discussion on if NASCAR needs a playoff, but I'm a big fan of it because every other major sports has some sort of playoff format.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah.
I think that would be that's big that NASCAR is able to add that in, and it's kind of creative how they did do it. And they are trying to shorten the schedule. So right now, the whole playoffs is the same time as the NFL season starting. Literally, I think the first week of the playoffs is week 1 of the NFL.
Oh, wow.
What they're trying to do is shorten their season to where they can finish that first NFL weekend. That can be their final, the Labor Day weekend, which is actually the week before the Super Bowl. Well, the week before the NFL starts. So that would be, I think, big on NASCAR's, popularity. And if they can finish before NFL starts, because those races right before the championship are the most exciting races. Just not a lot of people are watching them because the NFL is going on at that time.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, playoffs are definitely, important. Like I said, every sport has playoffs. It's justified that NASCAR would have some too.
Yep.
All right. Well, thank you, Dillon, for your time and answering my very pressing questions. And we're going to go to commercial break here on Hanging Out on CUTV.
Colin, what's wrong, man?
I just don't know how my family back home in Millersburg, Pennsylvania can watch our stuff down here.
Well, they could follow us on Twitter, or they could like us on Facebook.
Yeah, but what about our sports? How can they watch those?
They could watch it live on our YouTube channel.
Thanks, man.
You're welcome.
Welcome back to Hanging Out on CUTV. I'm your host, Peyton Trollinger, and now we're going to do a little fun segment called Peyton's Roulette. So I'm going to ask Nolan a question, and Nolan's going to ask Dillon a question, and Dillon's going to ask me a question. We're going to do this a couple times and see how fun the questions and answers are going to be. So we're going to start off pretty basic. Nolan, you ready?
I'm ready.
What is your favorite brand to wear?
I'd have to say, gotta rep the Under Armour.
All right.
Tough to see right there, but going with the Under Armour.
Respect. Okay.
So for Dillon here, about a year and a half ago, you appeared as the cover of Sheets at some CTV known. Have you been in communications with their Twitter page since then?
Yeah, they kind of did, when it was the year that 1 year since they made me their profile picture, they tweeted me again and said it's been a year of our friendship. And then yesterday, actually, I was tweeting them, and they were talking about how somebody was joking, saying Sheets must be a weather force field, and I said, as the chief meteorologist, I concur. So then they loved that. So I guess you could say I'm the unofficial chief meteorologist of Sheets. So yeah.
All right.
All right. So Peyton, I'm a big CUTV guy. So I just want to know what are your favorite things about being a part of CUTV?
Basically everything. I love CUTV. I love the opportunity that I've been able to come on here. Gary's my favorite. Shout out Gary. But yeah, I just love the opportunities that they give you. Just going to the away games. I really like how we're the only TV station that actually travels across PA and many other states.
Mm-hmm.
So, like I said, just the opportunities. You can just do everything. You can do Cal Time, CUTV, and WCAL, and still do classes if you really wanted to. And that's what I really like. So now it's my turn. So Nolan, I gotta ask you this: Xbox or PS4?
PS4 all day. Me and Gary hit it up on the golf club, and we're willing to take down anybody. So any challenge that comes in, me and Gary got it.
No, I'm an Xbox guy. I gotta say. All right, Nolan, what's your question for Dillon?
So Dillon, it's been a year now since you graduated from Cal. So what do you miss the most, from CTV or just Cal, your little house of friends that you lived with all kind of went all their ways. So what do you miss the most?
Yeah, obviously I missed my friend group that was CUTV. That was a lot of fun. Danny, Steve, Colin. We were kind of really close for really 3 years, 3.5 years. Us four, always did everything together, hung out. So I missed that. I also missed, being a CA. I was a CA for 3 years as well. It's kind of crazy, balancing CTV and being a CA. But I really enjoyed that. I kind of liked that role on campus. It was fun. Kind of some hard hitting stuff that I had to deal with, but it was still a lot of fun. Then also, third thing that I really miss is obviously the CUTV side of things. I miss being on TV is fun. Being a meteorologist is fun, but I miss like the cool fun little things that we did. Steve and I had a show called What You Think, and that was always so much fun. Steve and I, we have and actually pretty cool. Steve and I actually work under the same company, Nexstar. So we're kind of, at sister TV stations now. So we kind of stay in touch through that. But definitely miss all the fun, especially with the radio too. I had a show I was DJ Lugnut and talked about NASCAR. Come on, where else do you get the chance to do something like that?
Oh, that's great.
So Peyton, so I had a CUTV question last time, so let's go with Gary. Kind of hinted this question out here. So how many tattoos do you have, Peyton?
0. I have 0 tattoos. I want tattoos, but I don't have any right now.
I don't have any tattoos either, so we're good. I still owe Gary a Dale Earnhardt tattoo, so maybe that'll come here soon.
Wait, how? How do you owe him a tattoo?
Okay, so I did a thing on Twitter, or if I got so many retweets, I'd have to get a Dale Earnhardt tattoo, and I got way more retweets than that. So I think it was like 300 retweets, and I got like 900. So I still owe Gary a Dale Earnhardt tattoo.
You better make good on that promise.
And that is why he's Twitter verified.
Yes, yep. Alrighty, well, I want to thank Nolan. I want to thank Dillon for coming on to our new show with your new host. Quick little shout out to the CUTV Sports 1 YouTube page. Make sure you subscribe and make sure you follow us on Twitter, Facebook, wherever you do social media at. It'll be great, and I'll see you guys around.